Economic growth refers to an increase in the quantity and quality of economic goods and services produced by a society. Economic growth is necessary for our economic system because it allows for higher living standards, increased tax revenues, and the creation of new jobs, all of which are necessary for a country's stability and prosperity. Today, we will look at one of the major historical models of economic growth published by a well-known American economist. Mr. Walt Whitman Rostow, also known as W. W. Rostow, was an American economist, professor, and political theorist who serves as Special Assistant for National Security Affairs to the President of the United States from 1966 to 1969 in both the Kennedy and Johnson administrations. He is well known as an anti-communist who believes in the efficacy of capitalism and free enterprise. He also played a key influence in formulating U.S. foreign policy in Southeast Asia. In 1960, Rostow published The Stages of Economic Growth, a non-communist manifesto which proposed the Rostowian takeoff model of economic growth, one of the major historical models of economic growth, which argues that economic modernization occurs in 5 stages of varying length. Traditional society, preconditions for takeoff, drive to maturity, and high mass consumption. This became one of the important concepts in the theory of modernization in social evolutionism. This time, let us all watch a video to further understand Rostow's stages of economic growth model.
What is modernization? Modernization is a series of stages a country like China goes through to industrialize and mature through the DTM. In 1950, W. W. Rostow proposed a 5-stage model of development that further explained modernization, known as Rostow's stages of growth. The first stage of Rostow's model is named the traditional society. In a traditional society, there is a lack of development, meaning a high percentage of people in agriculture and a high percentage of national wealth only focused on what Rostow calls non-productive activities, such as military and religion. People in traditional societies build their lives around families, local communities, and religious beliefs. Their lives are often very similar to those of their ancestors. Side note, think of Mulan. They generally have very limited wealth, with most people as subsistence farmers. Little trade happens, but if any, bartering of other items is used as the form of payment. The second stage in the model is called the preconditions for takeoff. Leaders and other elite groups, like kings, motivate the population to start and innovate economic activities by building banks and currency. The population is influenced to start selling goods not just their own consumption, but for sale. They also begin to develop infrastructure, like water, sewage, and public transportation. These projects will ultimately stimulate a skyrocket in productivity. The next stage is called the takeoff stage. Rapid growth is generated in a limited number of economic activities, such as textiles or food products. Later on, these takeoff industries achieve technical advances and become productive, while other sectors of the economy may remain dominated by traditional practices. Greater individualism dominates the population with the desire of material goods. Modernization is evident in only the core areas of the country. The climax stage of the model is known as the drive to maturity. This stage includes the diffusion of modern technology previously confined to only takeoff industries to a wide variety of industries. These other industries start to grow more rapidly than the original takeoff industries. Workers become more skilled and specialized in their jobs. This is known as industrialization. The final stage in Rostow's model is called the age of mass consumption. During this stage, the economy shifts from manufacturing things like steel and copper to consumer goods. Items that may have been luxuries in previous stages now become necessities as the society expands its array of goods. This stage is marked by high incomes, with the majority of workers involved in only the service sector of the economy. Critics of Rostow's model claim that the model is too old and oversimplified, not taking into account of new technological and scientific advances. Also, Rostow's model reflects mostly European and American development, and basic foundations of natural resources and population size, especially because Western countries took advantage of other countries through colonialism. However, supporters of Rostow's model claim that to some extent all countries can be compared to this model. Also, that the model is easy to understand while also complementing the demographic transition model, or known as the DTM, which is a plus for students like you and me. Rostow's model describes the process of modernization and industrialization of a country into 5 basic stages: the traditional society, preconditions to takeoff, drive to maturity, and age of mass consumption. So now that you know Rostow's model, let me ask you, what is modernization?
Stage 1. The traditional society. This society is very primitive with limited technology and reliance on subsistence farming. People rely on community bartering rather than an advanced banking system. Society is governed by small ruling elites with strong traditional values. In this stage, we have a population that has no scientific perspective on the world and technology. Stage 2. Preconditions for takeoff. People see possibilities for improvement, growing specialization and commercialization of skill and investment in infrastructure, growing focus on export of primary production like mining and farming, and fueling investment through surplus. Here begins the development of transport system, which is trade. Rostow believed could only be reached by a great achievement of a surplus of wealth. Stage 3. Take-off. Economic growth becomes self-sustaining. Huge technological advancement, development of the domestic manufacturing sector, the rapid increase in regional cities and service industries, political modernization and growing domestic demands, greater spending on education and social overheads. Also, agriculture progressed to commercial rather than subsistence, where number of employed in agriculture declines. Stage 4. The drive to maturity. The range of domestic production widens. Replacement of imports with domestic production or import substitution. Increasing diversification and investment from home to abroad. The increasing need for innovation for gain of efficiency in existing techniques. Wealth generation enables further investment in value-adding industry and development. Stage 5. High mass consumption. The economy becomes heavily geared towards service provision due to exploiting comparative advantages in trade and commerce. High-quality world-class infrastructure are in existence. Citizens demand durable consumer goods and society becomes highly sophisticated. Here, there is a growing demand for additional consumer goods and services, and there is a high proportion of employment in service sector.